Walked in the door, look left, look right. Where's Steve? Expected you to be waiting for me, Steve. You left and got started without me. That's the real problem.
We're setting up here, all right? We're ready to roll.
No, you left.
Dr. Sebi, fraud or real?
No, that's not how that's going to go.
What's the deal?
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 Yo, what's the deal? What's the deal?
What's the deal?
Hey, what's the deal?
What's good, everybody? I'm Steve Discourse.
What up, y'all? It's your girl, Jay Calli.
Back again with another episode of What's the Deal? What is the deal?
Well, this week we got a family found a hidden camera in their Air BnB. I'm shook.
Well, and apparently reusable bags are not going to save the world?
Nope. Of course, we got to talk about Nipsey Hussle. Like, I'm crushed.
Yeah, that was a tough one this week. Also, new massive research out shows that bad diets are the leading cause of death around the world.
You may or may not have heard of the biker shootout that took place a few years ago. Well, let's talk about, did they ever actually get charged?
And we usually don't get into this because there's just so much to cover, but today we're going to dip into the world of shenanigans that is the mind of Donald Trump. So, Jay Calli, you want to start us off with that one?
Y'all, I almost feel ashamed because a few weeks ago, you know, I'm not even going to cite that. I never had anything good to say about Donald Trump, ever. If you heard it on the show, it was fake news. I've never said anything good about this man. Your president is an imbecile. I'm sorry, but he's a total imbecile. Y'all, this week we have been seeing on news reports a lot of people going up and saying, Donald Trump is saying wild things. Okay, nothing new. What does the man have against windmills? I know it seems silly, but I've been dying laughing for moments straight because Donald Trump went on the news this week to talk about his hatred of windmills once again, and he said that they cause cancer. The sound coming from windmills, the sound, let me say that again, the sound coming from windmills causes cancer. Number one, I've never heard a windmill make a sound. Number two, sound does not cause cancer. I'm very confused.
Are we sure about that? Should everybody cut the podcast off now? We don't know if there's podcast sound cancer.
Let me back up. There is no scientific proof to back up the claim that sound causes cancer. You know, maybe 100 years from now, they're going to find out, oh my God, all this time it was freaking windmills. And now everyone's going to say, Donald Trump. But in 2019, there's really no reason for a grown man who is the president of this country to be telling people that sound from windmills causes cancer because he just simply doesn't want us to build windmills. He hates them.
I can say one tiny sliver of hope here is that an Iowa Republican, Senator Joni Ernst, Republican is important, his same party, came out to say that, well, her response was that if windmill noise could cause cancer, she would have church bell cancer.
What in the world? Okay.
So at least we're getting both sides kind of ridiculing this man on this because it's kind of nuts.
It's because, yes, it's legitimately absurd.
And then you know what he said again? He said again this week that he has a pattern of doing.
What?
He claimed publicly that his father was born in Germany. He was referring to German Chancellor Angela Merkel and their relationship and his demeanor and, you know, disposition towards Germany. And he's like, yeah, you know, I love Germany. You know, I'm cool with it and everything. They're great people. You know, my father's born in Germany and his father was born in New York.
Do we have proof that the man's father was born in New York City?
We haven't produced a birth certificate.
This man who loves birth certificates, we haven't seen? Okay.
Well, it just goes to show had Obama provided the birth certificate,
Right.
Trump wouldn't have known what he's looking at anyway.
He
And
clearly
it
has
wouldn't
never
have
seen a
case
birth
closed.
certificate in
Right.
his life.
So it's a weird thing because he's repeatedly said this, just kind of in passing in comments, right? That referring to his father being born in Germany. His grandfather was born in Germany, and his grandfather actually was sort of run out of Germany for being a bit of a fraudster and also skirting military service, which was required back in the 20s. Oh man, back in the early 1900s. And actually, when his father came here, he started setting up some scams. He bought some land property that was zoned like for mining and built a brothel on top of it. And he kind of was always pulling these scams. And as people started getting fed up with him, he tried to dip back to Germany, and they were like, "Bro, you're not wanted here.
Get out of here.
You're not wanted here. You already been up to no good over in Germany." So he had to come back. And also, it should be said that his father was able to come here. His grandfather was able to come here because his sister was already here, which is chain migration, which Trump and his administration have been on the record really hating. And not to mention, Melania Trump's parents came over through that same chain migration too, which is evil, except obviously when it works in your favor. So we don't know what goes on. And here's the troubling thing with this man.
What?
Is that he just appears to lie all the time with no agenda. Like, I don't think he a lot of the things he says, it's not accurate. It's not like he's purposefully selecting this lie to hide something else or make something up. He just kind of talks and says what he wants. And whether it's factual or not, it doesn't necessarily matter. And part of it might be part of his psychological manipulation. Like, he is no doubt good at kind of playing to a crowd somehow. He gets his supporters worked up. But he just drops lie after truth after lie. Like, it doesn't matter really what reality is. If he's talking, it's just talking.
Literally.
And you gotta be like concerned. Like, I know that's not like a murder or some actual crime with a capital C, and we've got a president who's a criminal.
It is. It actually is exactly that. The president can't stand up in front of the entire nation and spew lies. That is a crime.
Even if it wasn't, it's concerning. You got to wonder what's really happening if his connection to the truth, especially in public national addresses and things like that, is so tenuous. You just got to wonder, is this really a person that you can trust?
I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out where the man comes up with the crap. Like you said, it jumps up in his brain, it flies out of his mouth. He knows it's a lie the moment it escapes his lips. But Donald Trump will never admit to being wrong. So he backs the lie. No, I said this. I meant it like this. This is the truth. These are the facts. Like, he can stand up and say, they say the noise causes cancer. Who the hell is they? You. You say it. You say it and you're saying they, so you don't have to back up. Well, I don't know. Somebody told me that. He always does that one.
Right. Well, somebody
told me. Nobody told you that. You're a liar. You made it up.
We haven't even mentioned the fact that he thought the wind power, if there's no wind, you were the lights aren't going to come on because it's not breezy outside.
He said, sir, that's not how wind energy works. You don't siphon energy directly from the sky into your television set. You charge up an energy source that feeds into your home. And I hope y'all out there listening, if you thought that the way wind energy works is the wind blows and then the power comes on, I need you to pick up a textbook. And I'm sorry if you feel shamed, but maybe you should if you think that we're siphoning energy directly from the sky.
You just got to read up a little bit, just a little bit.
Come on. Laugh at Trump and act like you knew all along, and then go and laugh at him to your friends and pretend to be smart. What we got coming up next?
Well, we got another monkey wrench thrown into the works here. These cotton totes that we've all been toting around are totes destroying the environment.
Goodbye with your one-liners, which I'm going to go and write down and use again later.
That wasn't good? Totes.
No, it was good.
Totes, man.
It was good. I'm putting it in the
repertoire.
repertoire.
So, all these, there's been laws, to pass taxes or to outright ban plastic bags and things like this because we have a serious, global problem with all this plastic waste filling up, lakes and streams and oceans, and it's getting everywhere, right? And this is bad for the environment. It's bad for us because it gets into the fish. It kills the fish, or we eat the fish, and then it's in our system now. So we're trying to avoid plastic waste, by any means necessary. So enter the cotton, the canvas, the reusable tote bag.
That we get from the grocery store, at Safeway, at Giant,
the savior.
At Walmart. I love them. Tell me why I shouldn't, because I'm about to be hurt.
So the deal is, some research is showing that the environmental impact of manufacturing those bags might be just as bad as the environmental impact of having all those plastic bags floating around wasted out in the ocean. So it's kind of a weird comparison, but what they're essentially saying is like if you buy a reusable tote bag, you got to reuse that thing 7,000 times to get to the same like level of emissions and environmental impact of creating plastic bags. That reusable bag uses so much energy to harvest the materials, to manufacture it, all that effort to put into that one bag. You got to reuse it 7,000 times to be on par with all that cost of making the plastic bags. Some people are saying now, look, these aren't even helping. We're screwed either way.
Wait, I want to really break this down because I want to make this as clear as possible because there are some people out there who are still going to say, oh, the environment is still better plastic bags. Here's the thing. Plastic bags are not biodegradable, which is like largely the only real issue with plastic bags. They get into the ocean. They're swirling gyres of trash in the middle of the ocean. Plastic bags make up a large majority of it, or plastic particles in general, and they're never going to go anywhere. So because of that fact, everyone's like, we hate plastic. It doesn't biodegrade. It's in the ocean. It's killing the animals. However, when you look at all the other factors that it takes to create a plastic bag versus creating all these other reusable bags that we use, plastic bags are like 1,000,000 times cheaper to make. Let's start there. But also they're a lot easier to make. They're a lot safer on the environment in terms of like the ways that they affect climate change as opposed to reusable bags, the ways that they affect the ozone depletion, water use, air pollution, human toxicity, or whatever. I don't know how to say the word. Reusable bags are so much worse. And that's what Steve means when he talks about like the environmental cost. They have a much larger effect on all of those other areas than plastic bags. The only area that they are more beneficial is the fact that, yes, they're more biodegradable, but that's not necessarily better for the environment at large. It's just like, okay, they're less likely to end up
It's
in the
more
ocean.
like, is the cost going to be ahead of time making the bags or after the fact with the
Right.
trash, right?
Exactly.
Because there's also, I don't know if people have heard about this, this so-called Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
I just taught my students about it last week.
There's essentially
excited.
an island of plastic in the Pacific Ocean about the size of Texas.
It's larger than the state of Texas, floating in the ocean. And the problem is the more they clean it, the larger it gets because guess what? You heathens keep throwing plastic into the ocean. Stop. It won't get smaller. We're working on it, but stop throwing your trash out the window. Jesus.
I didn't mean to get you so worked up.
Because
So,
the animals
look,
are dying. I shed a tear in class when I saw the pictures of all the animals being hurt by a plastic.
Yeah, I mean it is rough, and so like, what do we do with this information? The point really is, we just got to be creating less waste. Mm-hmm. And I never know a good analogy. Every time I try and do a different analogy that makes sense, it doesn't quite deliver the point, right? But so much of our life is disposable,
Right.
but we don't spend time thinking about where is it actually going. You know, like what if everything you got for your house that you replaced stayed in your house,
Ew.
right?
Don't ever say that again.
like towels, paper plates, whatever. Like every time you use something, it's not more. If it just stayed in your house, you'd be swimming in all that crap now, right?
I wouldn't even have a place to live anymore at this point.
And that's essentially what's happening, but it's just going out into the ocean or in landfills, we're burying it, or it's becoming mountains of trash. That's effectively just what's happening. So the idea is, in general, going forward, we need to get this kind of mindset to say, okay, what am I doing in my daily life? How can I reduce trash and waste, right? And so for me, it took me a while to adopt this, but finally I did. I realized, you know what? I kind of jump into 7-Eleven for coffee a lot. Don't judge me, all right? I'm a coffee snob, but you know what? It's very convenient.
A snob? 7-Eleven?
So, but what I realized is like, why am I throwing away these cups and the lid and the little cardboard like condom that goes around it?
Ew.
Right? What is it called? The little thing.
It's like a cup holder, bruh. Come on.
It's not a cup holder. Your hand is holding the cup. But whatever, like it's like, is it an insulator? Is it I don't know. Whatever these little sleeves are, right? Like, I realized, why am I creating all this trash every day? So I just bought one of the reusable cups.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, if you need a cup for coffee every day, why are you having a whole cup that never existed before, brand new, every single day, right? It's all this unnecessary waste when you can just bring your cup from home, just rinse it out when you get to work
Only
or whatever.
rinse it? Wow.
It depends. If you're nasty like me, I just give it a good rinse, and it's going to be coffee again anyway. So it's only been, 20, 26 hours. So like, we good. I'll wash it out a couple, every couple days,
Spare
right?
us the details.
So yeah,
Keep going.
see, I'm digging myself deeper. But the point is, you need a coffee cup. There's no reason for that to be a whole ass new coffee cup every single day. Just use the other one, right?
So, simple solution. Buy less and use it more. Buy less things and use them more. Don't throw it away after the first use. I will personally say, I saw this floating around on Facebook, and I haven't resonated with anything more in a long time. When you want to know how plastic bags and all these plastic particles got into the ocean, you cannot look at any black person, because every plastic bag that I've ever purchased is underneath my kitchen sink right now. 100% is not in the ocean. I can guarantee you.
This isn't fair.
Every black person's plastic bags are still inside their home.
I can't allow this inaccuracy.
It's accurate.
To go over the airwaves.
No, there are
unchecked.
0 plastic bags that I've ever used in my life in the ocean. They are
can't
all
let this go unchecked.
Currently still in my house.
It's bad form to talk over each other like this.
Then you be
so
quiet.
White people do it too. That's all I'm saying. I grew up in a household like that too. I got a cabinet right now.
No, they don't.
Whole cabinet full of plastic bags.
White people putting their bags in the ocean.
Stop it. Stop it. How dare you? All right, listen.
All right.
So, but that's the idea. And you know what? I had a conversation with somebody several years ago, and I was like, how do you clean this shower liner, right? Like, when your shower liner gets a little dirty and nasty, what's the best way to do it? Like, what do you do with that, right? And somebody who I asked was like, what do you mean wash it? You throw it out.
Yeah, that's what you do. You throw it away.
See, but it's not.
You
can wash
to clean
them.
Those things?
Yeah, you can wash them. But here's the better thing. Whether you're supposed to or not, the point is, where does that go? That goes to the island in Texas, floating around in the ocean, the size of Texas, right?
Okay, I shouldn't laugh, but that hit me in my chest. Like, I throw those shower liners away.
See?
You just personally
touched
on something with me.
I didn't know it was going to resonate
I've
like that.
never washed one ever in my life.
And what I found out, just throw it in a washing machine.
Gross. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it.
Why
I'll
not?
figure out
What?
something, but
Why not? What's wrong with the washing machine? What do you mean
Just be
gross?
quiet. Yes, I will do whatever it takes to save this planet.
It's a metal washing machine. I don't see what's gross about it.
All right. Well, what else? I feel like we've talked about plastic. I'm
Fine,
all
yeah,
plastic
but look,
out.
just
I'm
fire
gonna
'em.
go have plastic for dinner tonight. All this responsibility.
Jay Calli, you mentioned earlier this family found out that they were being spied on, videotaped, surveilled while renting an Air BnB.
I'm torn between starting. You know what? No, I'm gonna start there because I have an anecdote. I'm gonna save it for later. There was a family who has been, doing like a little Euro trip, something cute, traveling from Airbnb to Airbnb in all these different European countries. They end up in New Zealand, and the father happens to be an IT guy. So he's like, let me just scan the house for like their Wi-Fi network. Let's get situated. We're all techie people, just, Wi-Fi and the router, blah, blah, blah. What he comes across is a live video stream that's currently taking place inside the house. So they search the house, they find hidden cameras that are like literally live streaming what they're doing inside of this Airbnb. And they're like, yo, not only are we being recorded, but it's feeding directly. So someone somewhere is watching this. It's on a live stream. So they contact Airbnb and they're like, hey, we just found hidden camera in our Airbnb. What we want to leave. And basically Airbnb's response was, well, if you cancel within the 14-day window, you won't get a refund back. And they were like, what? What are you talking about? I'm not talking about some cancellation. I'm being filmed on it, not just like a camera. It wasn't like, a computer setup. The camera was concealed inside a smoke detector. Like, it's a hidden camera.
Next level.
Yeah, next level. Someone went out of their way to make sure you don't know that you're being filmed, which I'm not sure of the legality. I know it's illegal to film with audio without a person's consent. So whether or not these people were being filmed with audio, it wasn't clear because they asked the host and the host didn't directly answer that question. So that would really be the determining factor on whether or not it's illegal. But the point is, so they contact the host and they're like, hey, you've been live streaming us, blah, blah, blah. And the host is just like, the camera you found is the only camera in the house. I can guarantee it, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. No real reassurance. They stay there anyway. They contact Airbnb. There's not a lot of follow-up. Airbnb is just treating the situation like a booking cancellation. They post about it on Facebook. It goes viral. Everyone's stunned. They're being filmed in their Airbnb. So that's when finally Airbnb comes out with a response, and they permanently remove the host from the site. And they're like, our policies strictly prohibit filming guests, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, but when I called you, you basically just said, oh, we can't give you your money back. You can leave, but no, this is against company policy, and you're allowing it to happen. And so can I get into my anecdote?
No, because there's so much to say
Go.
here. But we come back to it, of course. But so, I mean, there's a number of red flags to me. Is A, if this was really their policy, then why weren't the front level people who were supposed to respond to this claim, this complaint, why weren't they aware of that or empowered to act on it? Which makes me wonder, like, the strength of that policy, right? Were they really, was it in there, but it's not something they really took seriously? Why did it take all that time? Mm-hmm. Second of all, this is my problem with a lot of these big companies anyway. Companies get so big, and like with Facebook with all these scandals, it's always after it becomes scandalous that they're like, oh, yeah, we're working on it. Right. Or no, we disagree with it too. Or something. It's always once you catch them doing the wrong thing that they're always on the side of the right thing. So that already, like Airbnb, I look at you real shady. And we know they've had tons of problems with as far as racial profiling and just discrimination in far as who is allowed to get the rentals, right? Whether I don't like the way you look, right, because I'm racist or something, and I'm not going to rent to you. Or, we had the women who were coming out of a rental and people called the police and they got arrested even though they were legally renting the spot. Like, so Airbnb has a ton of problems anyway. And for being a global company, I don't think we should be always allowing people to play catch up. It's like, if you want to be this big, you should be working out the bugs on the front end instead of placing us in a burden like this. Which brings me to my second point, that this family was not comfortable being surveilled. To what extent, they don't know, but they know it's happening. They're uncomfortable. Are they in a position to potentially eat all that money that they threw down for the rental to leave and get another one because Airbnb says that's the contract, the policy, right? We're so stuck to our economic situations and income and all the costs of everything that these people didn't even feel like they had the freedom to find a place that they would be comfortable sitting. And so they had to sit there with that anyway. Right. And that's a problem as well that is separate from Airbnb, but it's a concern, I think. So that's just wild. And we don't know how commonplace this is, because whatever magic wizardry this guy was pulling up, I don't know that. I don't know.
He's an IT guy.
I'm barely finding the Wi-Fi. Like, I have no idea what's going on with the technology side of things. So this could be happening so much more, especially to the degree you can be hiding these kind of cameras and things.
And the thing, okay, so just to touch on what makes this a legal thing. So no, it is not legal to film someone in a private place without their consent. So in a public place, film away to your heart's content. In a private place, you see signage. You are now being video surveilled. But when it's your own home, that's when you can have cameras in your own home. No one can tell you that you can't. It's my house. But when it's your house, you do have to have the person's consent to capture audio along with the video.
Really?
So these are laws, nanny cams, essentially. People have nannies, and it's like, I want to make sure my kid is safe. So it's like, okay, you can legally film this person without telling them. You just can't capture their audio because you can't spy on them, pick up their phone conversations, blah, blah, blah. But you can absolutely watch to make sure that your property is being protected. So it is legal. The thing that makes it shaky is, as an Airbnb host, you have to know that it's against that company's policy. So that's what makes it wrong. You cannot film an Airbnb. Even though it's legal, you signed a contract with Airbnb that you wouldn't do it. So they should not be doing it. Right? I stayed in an Airbnb once and was being filmed, and I had no idea. And then the lady, she was like sending pictures like, is this you? Do you have guests? It was one of my friends that ordered the Airbnb, and she was like, well, in my contract, I say that you can't have guests, but here I've captured you on film having a guest over and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, why are you filming us? What?
Right. Yeah.
It was crazy. And I know I felt super violated, so I couldn't imagine having my children with me and like traveling and blah, blah, blah. And someone's like capturing me on film. It's just not a comfortable space to be in.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, no doubt there are people saying, well, that's their right. It's your home. You want to make sure it's safe and everything. But at the same time, if you really want to make sure your home is safe, maybe don't rent it out to total strangers.
Right.
That's a weird idea. Maybe I'm crazy. I know it's extreme, but don't have total strangers stay in your home if you're that pressed about it, because I think it's just an extreme invasion of privacy that if you want to go that far and people can't have privacy in their own space, which when they rent it from you, this is their space now, right? Then maybe you're just not the person to rent out your personal space, right? Maybe you need to go buy an investment property and rent that out and then ruin rent prices in that area by doing that. There's just no way to defend this to me.
I don't. So, I mean, yeah. Okay. What else we got?
Yeah, we're really doing a great job on the smooth transitions here today, aren't we? We're just like flying one to the next seamless, isn't it?
Stop it. I listen, that was my first thing. I was like, how are we going to transition from story to story? Anyway, they don't need to know this behind the scenes juice.
Right.
We're magicians up in here. While we're on this break, we want to remind you, do not forget to share the podcast. Share it to all of your social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter. Don't forget to use the hashtag #What'sTheDealPod whenever you share anything. And like and subscribe the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you listen. Thanks for spreading the love. You know we appreciate you.
So, 2015. What do you know about 2015? It was a good year. It was a bad year. Best of times. It was the worst of times. Right. But one thing happened in 2015 for sure.
Uh-oh.
Somewhere around the ballpark of 200 bikers congregated in a restaurant parking lot in Texas. Two rival gangs. Details are real muddy. We're not really clear even 4 years later. Why? But you know what happens? Bop, 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 bop. Shots start get fired.
Oh, my God.
Rival gangs in a shootout in a parking lot. Police on the scene decide to kind of just wait it out. Bloop, bloop. They fire into the crowd a little bit. 9 people died, 20 injured in this shootout. 2 people died from police. 7 other people died in the midst of the shootout between the bikers, right?
Oh, my God.
177 people get arrested. 155 end up getting charged with crimes. Well, this fiasco finally came to an official end this week. You know how it got concluded?
Tell me.
0 people charged or convicted of crimes. All charges have been dropped.
I wish that the listeners could hear the sound of me rolling back my chair and walking out the door because I'm done. Goodbye. Steve, that's that.
One man was charged, ended in mistrial.
Of course.
So he's off.
Of course.
And officially, the remaining 24 charges were dropped earlier this week. And it's a total shit show any way you cut it. There are over 100 civil lawsuits filed for wrongful arrests by people who are affiliated with the gangs, but maybe it was clear at the time they didn't have anything to do with the shooting, right? It wasn't that 200 people were firing back and forth. People in this group ended up shooting at each other. And so a lot of people are making the claims like, you guys just went in there and made a whole bunch of blanket arrests and we were wrongfully arrested. We shouldn't have. We gave our statement and everything. We had nothing to do with it. We should have been able to let go. So there's lawsuits on behalf of these people that were arrested. That already sounds messy, and we know there's blanket arrests at peaceful protests, which is a
Right.
First Amendment thing. So we understand that police can sometimes go in and just start tagging people up, right? Zip tying them, get them out of here, just hauling them away. So that I already buy. that maybe they just started indiscriminately arresting tons of people that they really had no business arresting. But then you got to wonder, what about the 9 dead people and the 20 who were injured?
Right.
How does nobody get held accountable for this? Like they screwed this whole thing up in every single way by arresting people who had nothing to do with it, and also not conducting the investigation in a way that they were able to conclude anything.
You're being generous. This is my opinion. Can I cut in here? You right now are being generous with saying, oh, they screwed it up, or oh, they didn't do the investigation right, or what they did led them to not being able to pursue charges or not being able to. In fact, okay, this isn't a fact. I already said it's my opinion. They didn't screw it up. They did exactly what they wanted to do. They do not want to arrest these people. They do not want to hold these people accountable, because let me assure you that if we were in South Compton and 200 rival gang members just killed 9 people and blah, 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 they can arrest whoever the fuck they want. They can make wrongful arrests and screw up the investigation, but I can rest assured that people are going to be held accountable and that people are going to be in jail. Period. Okay, sorry, there was a couple of casualties. Sorry, I accidentally arrested 2 people who weren't actually involved. That doesn't exonerate the 200 other people who just shot out in public, you know what I'm saying, jeopardizing the lives of civilians, of people who weren't involved, of police officers. Like, there is no excuse for why no one was held responsible other than the fact that we actually really don't want to arrest 200 white men. We just don't.
Mostly white men, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, no argument from me. And I mean, like you said, just comparing in like the racial disparity, we already know how easy it is for minorities to get arrested over a traffic stop, right? No other crime involved. The traffic stop somehow turned it into an arrest, right? Meanwhile, we have actual dead bodies in this interaction. We have weapons. How do you, if a weapon was confiscated from you, at least, if you can't figure out the murder, at least say, you know what? Well, we're charging everybody with, possession of these weapons. And I'm not a lawyer or legal expert, so I can't tell you exactly what type of charges they could bring. But isn't this some kind of criminal activity, organized crime related? There's got to be charges to be able to be brought that you came as a part of an organized group. A lot of you were armed in different ways. You came into physical violent confrontation with another armed group of an organization, and nobody gets anything.
Imagine the families of the 9 people who were killed just being like, oh, okay, well, no accountability. No one's going to apologize. Just nothing. Just dissolved.
And you know what? I don't know. Maybe they're about that biker gang life, and they're like, it's the life we chose. I don't know.
Their whole family. You think their grandma is at home going, "This the life we chose, baby."
Granny might have been a biker gang too. We don't know.
Right.
But the fact that such a horrific outcome came out and nobody got charged, even with these minor things, is just it's mind numbing. Again, for the disparity that you point out, that if this was a different demographic, a different group of people, a different type of Americans, they'd be a lot of them be under the jail right now.
Right.
And that's really nuts. And actually, this might be our best transition of the show, because I think that's a good setup to move in to talk about the tragic death of Nipsey Hussle to street violence.
Yeah. I'm really still quite emotional. I'm not overwhelmed or anything today, but it's definitely still something sad. It's definitely still something that when I hear about it or talk about it, I still feel it. Like, wow, that's like Nipsey Hussle is dead. So just to catch up anyone who may or may not live underneath a rock and doesn't know what happened this past week on Sunday, rapper, Grammy-nominated rapper and upstanding, quote, figure in the community, Nipsey Hussle, was murdered in front of his own place of business in his own neighborhood where he has grown up and lived basically his whole entire life. And the real news here is the impact and the effect that his death had across communities. Like, I'm on my feed on Facebook, Instagram, all my social platforms. I'm still all day, every day seeing pictures, quotes, videos, music, tributes to Nipsey Hussle. It's like people have really, really, really been feeling it and talking about it and highly, highly, highly affected at the loss of someone who many people consider to be just a great man, a great human being who was doing outside of the world of music and outside of his passion and his impact on his music community was doing for his community, the black community, the Slauson, Crenshaw community at large. And even bigger, the effect that he had on people who didn't even really consider themselves fans, myself included in that, because I would have never been running around being like, oh, I'm a huge Nipsey Hussle fan. I got all of his songs on my playlist. I know exactly every word to his albums and all this. No, I wasn't a huge fan of his music. I didn't know a whole lot about him. But what I did know, I knew that I liked. I was into it. I really was into the way that my biggest piece was the way that he loved his woman. That was my whole thing. Like, that is a man who I hope other men could aspire to kind of take a piece of what he knows. His commitment and dedication to his community and his commitment and dedication to just being pro-black and being pro-youth and being like, I know the lifestyle that I grew up living and I am actively working to change it. He was having meetings and things with the police in his area to reduce gang violence and to just be like, we need more for the kids to do because I don't want to see the kids going out gang banging. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people talked about, oh, he's a gang member, he's a rolling 60s Crip, this is all gang affiliated, y'all keep saying he's a good man, an upstanding man, blah, blah, but he's in a gang. And, basically he said, even when he was alive, like, I'm a gang member, I'm not a gang banger. I used to be, but once you're in, you're in. I can't say I'm no longer a member of that gang. I am, but I'm not a gang banger anymore, and I don't think the youth need to be doing that at all. That's not something that I'm like out here repping, like, yeah, everybody do. So let it go. Let the man rest in peace. Let the man rest in peace.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing. And I mean, I think there's a lot of the camp who is also, it's kind of this also, what about all lives matter? Or what about black on black crime kind of thing, right? It's coming from the same similar camps that have all these things. They say, yeah, well, what about some of the things he says in his music? What about the fact that he's affiliated with gang activity and stuff like that? And that makes sense. I see why people think that. But at the same time, these are really complicated relationships and communities, honestly. So like you referenced him saying, you can't just completely unplug, back away, and divorce yourself from all that, even if he felt he could, get rid of his membership, right? These are still all the people in his community.
Right. In
some way or another, interacting with this group, with these gang members and everything. And so you might not be immediately engaged in the violence or the criminal behavior. This is still the physical, like, geographic community you live in and the social networks of a community you live in. So that was his thing. You can't completely divorce yourself from this. And a lot of people will tell you that, we had on the show a few months back, Jason Clark and Willie Jimerson and a few folks from Seattle. And these are people who are ex-felons who had, to some degree or another, been involved in some gang activity and things like that. And they'll tell you the same thing. Like, it's hard to 100% come back and remove yourself, but it is possible to reform the ways you're going to act going forward and trying to have an impact. And they're working with Credible Messenger Initiative, which takes people who have made, in some cases, extremely serious mistakes and poor judgment in their life. And they're trained to come back into the communities and have a more positive impact based on their experience and their wisdom that they have now. So it's a complicated situation, and but overall, this hit me surprisingly hard for the same reason, or from the same perspective as you. Like, I knew some of his music. I wasn't really like bumping Victory Lap like that. I'm not a Nipsey Hussle fan in my own right, but I knew very well the way he was perceived in the world, bigger than his music, the things he was doing, the initiatives he was trying to take on. And that's why when I saw the news, I was definitely surprised how impactful it hit me, just on the strength of his reputation.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about if you've ever actually like heard him speak, then he has a lot of things to say about like rebuilding the community, opening up more healthy eating options in his community, creating businesses, but then employing, you know, his own friends, yes, but employing, like, he employed a lot of ex-felons because they can't find jobs. He gave jobs to like just men in the community who were struggling, not men, but people from around the way. You know what I'm saying? He helped to sustain the businesses that were in the same strip mall as the Marathon Clothing Store, which was his company. He was like, I want to make sure that all of us are being sustained. And then, of course, there were just the people who had like one-off stories about, oh, I remember the time that this happened and Nipsey always blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into those, but like, you know, just those types of things. And you just remember that like, he was trying to have more development in Crenshaw, more development, like, and just something that had the initiative to spread and to just do good for those people that he felt had been disadvantaged for a very long time. But not just talking about it, but that he actually made steps, that he actually had already been doing so much. So to be cut short in the way that he was, it was like, wow. To die such a violent death, I think, was startling to us, for it to be so sudden. Because for me, it was like, by the time I heard, like, oh, Nipsey Hussle got shot, it was like, I hope he pulls through. And 10 minutes later, Nipsey Hussle's dead. Like, wow, I didn't even have a chance to, like, pray for the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just your opportunity to hope. It was like, in an instant, it was already gone. So.
And this, you know, the Eric Holder, who's the man that's accused of killing him, is somebody he knew. He's had interactions with before. And so it's not even, you can't even blame this, well, you can't be gang affiliated or something, because it wasn't like a hit in that sense. This was somebody, and unfortunately, this is the kind of environment and scenario he grew up and lived around, and sometimes you can't avoid that, and somebody made the wrong decision to handle their problems, and they took it out on him by killing him, and it's just real tragic.
It's super tragic. And again, like, I couldn't imagine losing love in that way. And I'm talking about this explicitly because, again, this is like the largest reason why I'm so highly affected by this death, is because I look at Lauren London and I look at Nipsey, right? I look at all their like GQ. Yeah, Lauren London, you look a little shocked. Oh, okay. Yeah, like, I'm looking at their GQ spreads. I'm looking at the videos that they've done, like. And I just watched, they had just done this really, really super cute interview with GQ where it's like, how well do you know your partner? And they just like knew each other so super well. And I was just like, wow, this guy is just like, I just love him so much more now. And that was only days before he got killed. So just coming off of that too. And I was just like, why can't a black man with a past, because we're not going to not acknowledge the fact that he has a past, but why can't a black man who wants to be good, who wants to be better, who wants to make other people be better, stand up for their community, stand up for their women, stand up for their children, ride for their family, ride for their culture, right? Ride for financial literacy, ride for investment literacy, and just like be a man who loves and knows how to be loved at the same time, and who knows how to respect and be respected. Why can't we have that? Like, why? Why does jealousy or hatred or envy or whatever the case, ego, get in the way of someone like that living and making things better for others, right? So I can stop right there because, like, that's something to sit on and that's something to think about. And then, of course, there are also the critiques of, like, well, Nipsey Hussle music wasn't out here. He wasn't making pro-black music. He wasn't, you know what I'm saying, making music about uplifting and do. I don't know if he was or wasn't. This is a critique that I've heard. And it's like, he made music about gangbanging and money and riches and cars and all this flashy shit that everybody else is doing. So you can walk the walk in one avenue of life, but your music still speaks a message that isn't necessarily beneficial in many ways. So that's a valid critique as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting thing, you know, because I mean, then people will say, well, that's his art, so that should be separated. But it is words and ideas he put out into the world, whether it's art or not.
Right.
Some people don't know how to take that, and some people take it literally, and other people understand that it's either just communicating things he's seen in his life, or other people think it's him testifying to his own personal character. Other people think, you know, maybe it's just completely made up. There's so many ways it can be taken, but I mean, and Victory Lap, from the time I've listened to it, is kind of a mixed bag. There's things that are aspirational, motivational, and positive, but there is still some of that messaging too. That like I always got the thing in the trunk, right? It can go there if it has to, right? We can turn this to violence if it needs to, and I'm not gonna say is it more or less or halfway or what, but it is still there. But at the same time, I think again, I don't think it's quite accurate to blame this on the music and the message in his music necessarily, because I think it undermines kind of the complexity of the social network and the community overall. Yeah. So yeah,
I definitely
it's tragic.
Touch on. Yeah.
It's really tragic.
Yeah. We have delivered an action-packed, opinion-filled, factual maybe episode this week.
We did our best, man.
We did. Yo, we've been here for a while. We've been in here for a while.
Oh, we got to get out of here.
Yes, it's time to go.
Yeah. So, no time for the niceties and standing on ceremony and everything. My name is Steve Discourse.
And it's your girl, Jay Calli.
And that's the deal.
All right, people, thanks so much for tuning in another week. What's the Deal podcast?
You can follow us on social media
at Steve Discourse.
And you can catch Jay Calli.
It's Jay Calli, ITSJAYCALLI.
We got to send a big shout out to Clifford Cartel for composing our theme music. And wherever you listen to this, make sure you subscribe.
Family, subscribe.
Write us a review.
Share the podcast. Subscribe to it wherever you listen.
Share it with your friends, family, your loved ones. Heck, share it with your enemies. We don't care. Just help us spread that word. We truly appreciate it.